Welcome to Data Tweak with Sir Josh. This is the only place where you can learn how to tweak with data. This is Joshua in your Data Tweak channel. Let's go into the lab.
Hello friends, welcome back to our class. This is Data Tweak with Sir Josh. Here we are going to look at dynamic drop-down list. In our last class, we were looking at creating drop-down lists and working with range name. This is where we stopped in our last class. In our last class, we created this record. We were able to create this record, create a drop-down list for location. We create a drop-down list for customer. We create a drop-down list for stores. That was what we did in our last class. In case you have not watched that video, there is a link in the description where you can get access to that very video. Just watch that video first where we created a drop-down list. That was where we dropped the background for what we want to do in our today's class. What we did in our subsequent class was creating a drop-down list that enables us to enter this record into this particular table. Let's say we have an order number 4. What location is that order coming from? Let's say this order is coming from this location. And what is the name of the customer placing this particular order? Let's say this is the name of the customer. The order is for which department? Let's say the order is for this particular department. Have you ever wondered how this drop-down list is created? If you have not known how to create this drop-down list, just simply go through that video. It's a very simple video where we talk about how we created this drop-down list and how we created range name. Let's say this person is from, we have a next person, this is the name of the person, and this person is placing order for smartphones. Now, we have all these orders, all these names entered like this. In our today's class, we say we are going to create a dynamic list, a dynamic drop-down list. Let's take, for instance, this guy placed an order. This order is for this particular store, which is electronics. And we want the category. Under electronics, we have different categories under electronics. Look at our category sheet. These are our category sheet. Under electronics, we have appliance, we have phones, we have car and vehicle electronics, we have cell phones, accessories, we have GPS and navigation, we have home audios and the rest. And let's say in this particular order sheet, we want to be able to select the category under this particular electronics. So all that we want in this case is we want a situation where if this guy selects electronics, when this person comes to category, he should be able to see only categories of items that are under the electronics. So in our last class, we created something called range name. I want to make this very, very simple as I can. So we'll take it step by step. So let's say we want a name called, I want to create a category called electronics. We want to create a category called electronics so that whenever we come to this particular category, we can see that category called electronics. So how do we do that now? We come over here now. We can come over here now. Highlight this particular range here, and we give it a name to create a range name. So we can simply go back to our formula menu here. Under our formula menu, we have defined name. When you click on define name, a name is highlighted for us here, suggested for us, electronics, and that is the name I want to use. So I click on OK. So I now have a new range called electronics. So how do I see that very name? If I go to my name manager, under the formula menu, I can see that I have a new range called what? Electronics. So that is how we can create our range name. And let's say I want to use that electronic for this particular electronics. So what we do here now is I'm creating a range here. I'm creating a drop-down list here. Now, when I try to create a drop-down list here, for instance now, and here I want this particular one to give me electronic because this guy have selected electronic. I can simply come over here now and say, this very one, I go to data, under data validation, go to data validation, under data validation, I say I want that to be a list and change it from any value to list. When I change it to list, it's asking me where is the source of my list. And I say the source of my list is equal what? This particular name, that is electronics. So I can just say simply equal electronics. So equal electronics, and I click OK. So if I come here now and this person select electronics and I come over here now, I'm able to see all the things that are under my electronics, all the categories that are under my electronics. And let's say this person is buying from our phones category. Now I can select phones. But the question is, what about this person now? What about if this person now change and decide to change to computer? Will I be able to see computer here? No. I will not be able to see computer here. So that is where we need a dynamic drop-down list. So that if this person change to electronics, when you come here, you should see electronics. If this person change to computers, when you come here, you should see computers. So that is what we are going to do in this class. We want to create a dynamic list. This is a method we can use, but this method is not dynamic. So this method is not going to work out for us. So I want to remove this list from this particular cell. And how do I do that? Remember I say each of the cell is designed to accept any value. Excel designed each of the cell. Microsoft designed each of this cell to accept any value. And I have just changed this cell to list just now. So I want to remove that. All I can do is go back to your data menu, go back to your data validation. And under the data validation, it was any value, but I changed it to list. So I want to take it back to any value. And I click OK. So that will remove that particular list from this cell. So now we want to create a dynamic list so that anything we select here automatically will determine whatever we see here. And that is what we want to do. So follow me gradually. I'm going to take it very slowly so that we can get it clear. What we are going to do now is, this is where we have our categories. So we are going to create this as a list. We are going to create this as a list. We are going to create this as a list. We are going to create each of these as a list. But then, remember something I told us in my subsequent class, in our last class, that the name of a list, Excel will not accept a space in between the name of a list. And this list we are talking about now, name should be the same with the names we have here under our category. So if you look at what I did here, I removed the space from art and craft. So what I'm going to do here now also is to come over here now and do the same thing so that Excel can accept that. I can either remove the space like this, or I can use an underscore. So in this case, I'm removing the space here. Then if you look at the machine here under, okay, we have this now. Smart home. Smart home, you find that there is a space there. So, but what I'm going to do now is to correct that under smart home. Let's correct that to smart. Let me use smart machines this time around. So we want to use smart machines, not smart home. So I'm going to replace this. I want to copy this and replace that with the name of this particular store. So I'm pasting value. That will automatically replace that for us. So we are now going to create this very range. But instead of creating this range individually, which is going to take us a whole lot of time, we are now going to use a method. This method we are going to use, I want us to do something so that you can really get what I want to do here. If I highlight this, look at this now. If I highlight this, I highlighted space here and I highlighted space here. So if we should create a range name with this kind of arrangement, in our list, we are going to see space included. In our list, we are going to see space included. So to get rid of that, we are now going to use another method. And the method we want to use in this case is, let's go to our home menu. Click on the home menu. Are you following me? Click on the home menu. Under the home menu, we have a find and select. Find and select. When you click on find and select, you have something like constant here. When we talk about constant, we are talking about this record. This record, not together with any space. Excel is not going to do away with any space, but it's going to only select where records are found. So that is why I'm going to use find and select. I'm selecting constant. When I click on this, look at what happened. Excel went through the sheet and select just the constant for us. Selected just the constant for us. If I don't do that, if I wanted to do this, to highlight all the record I have so that I can create everything at a time, this one is going to have together, select together with space. This one is going to select together with space because they are not equal in number. And I don't want that to happen. And that is why the best way to do this is to go to your home menu. Under your home menu, you have find and select. And I'm going to click on constant. And that will select only cells that contain records. So after doing this, I want now to create a range name. But in this case, we are using a different pin. We are not creating individual range name like we did in the previous class. So let's do that now. We'll go to our formula menu. Under our formula menu, we are now going to use something like create from selection. In the subsequent class, in the previous class, we used defined name. But in this class, we are going to use create from selection. When you click on create from selection, what I'm simply telling Excel is create a list for me. But then we are now going to create the list from the record I have selected. Now Excel is asking me a question here. And the question Excel is asking me is that, where do you have the range name, the names of the range you want to create? We have some option here. This is top row, left column, bottom row, and we have a right column. But in this case, where do we have the name of the range? The name of the range are in the top row. We have smart machines here, we have this, we have this. So the names of the range are in the top row. So I'm going to use top row. If the name of the range are on the left hand column, or on the right hand column, you choose you choose the area where the names of the range are. So I'm okay with this. I'll click on OK. And this tells me replace existing definition of, okay, we already created electronics initially, remember. So we are clicking yes because it sees that a name called electronics is already existing among our range. So we click on yes. Now what has happened, it seems like nothing happened. But what has happened is that Excel has automatically created ranges for us from electronic, a range called electronic, computer, a range called art and craft, smart machines, automotive, babies, and the rest. So now let's look at bodies and the rest. Let's try to confirm. Do we really have this range created? How do we confirm that? Go to your formula bar. Under your formula bar, you have name manager. When you click on your name manager, you have all of the range name created. So all these names have automatically been created for us using the method we just used just now. So now we can now go back to our sheets that we are designing. In this case now, I'm introducing a different formula, and this formula is what we are going to use to create a dynamic list. So we are introducing another Excel function, and that function is called Indirect. The function is called Indirect. Indirect. We are now going to use the Indirect function to get this done. So Indirect function is what we are going to use to create our dynamic list. So I will highlight this. That is what we did initially. Highlight the area where you want the list to appear. So where do we go to from here? You go to your data menu. Under data menu, we have our data validation. Now in this very data validation column, this window, here we change it to what? List. We change this to list, and then where we have the source, where do we have the source? Remember in our subsequent class, all we did was we say just equal a particular cell. Now in this case, we are not using that. We are now using equal indirect. We are using equal indirect. Equal indirect. Equal indirect, open bracket. Now, what do we put inside the open bracket? We put the cell that is on the left hand side of the record, the role we are trying to create. The cell that is on the left hand side of the role we are trying to create. In this case now, I'm going to use equal indirect D2. Equal indirect D2. Let me explain this. What I'm simply telling Excel to do for me in this case is that I want to create a list. But in this case, I want this list to be dynamic. I don't know the name of the list. I don't know the name of the record that I'm using in that list. So what you do is look at the left hand side of this very sheet. That is, look at cell D2. Whatever name you find in cell D2, that is the name we are going to use. That is the name of the list that we need. So what Excel will do now is, it will first of all check this particular cell D2 and see if there is a record here. If there is a record here, it's now going to look at the record here and pick the name of that record here. The name is going to pick now is electronics. So it's now going to check the range names and find out if we have any name, any range called what? Electronic. And if we have any range called electronic, that automatically will be the name the list is going to use for this particular cell. It will do the same thing to this very one. It will go over to cell D3 and check if there is any record in cell D3. So if there is no record in cell D3, Excel will not display anything here. But as soon as there is a record in cell B3, computers, Excel is now going to look for a range called computer, and then it will display that range as the list for us. So let's click on OK and see, and let's see if this is going to work out for us. We have electronics here. So when we click here and see what we have here, we have this, which is working perfectly for us. We have phones, we have appliance, and we have all these. These are under our electronics department, and that is because we selected electronic here. If we change this to, let's say, computer, let's say change this to smart machine, when we come over here, the list we are going to see is the list of smart machines. So we can see that our dynamic drop-down list is working out for us. Here I selected electronics, and when I come over here, I'm going to see only the list of our category. There are categories under what? Electronics. So let's see if that is true. Electronics, we look at this, we have all of this here, and let's confirm if that is true. If you look at electronics, this is the list we have under electronics. So it's working perfectly fine for us. So I can now say, okay, I will select this phone, and here computer, and I come over here now, I can select, okay, computer accessories. Now automotive. Now if I come over here now, I can select any of the automotive. Then arts and crafts. If I come over here now, okay, you see something is wrong here. Art and craft is not working here. So it means that this very range name, there is something wrong in this very range name. So it's not saying exactly art and craft here. We can fix that. This also will not work because there is a space in between this record here. So if I come over here now, this will not work. If I come over here now and choose, maybe I did not choose any record, and try to choose from this, this also will not work. So take note. If I come over here now and change this to, let's say, automotive, and I come over here now, that will work because the name there is just a single name. So we can fix this. We can fix this. So how do we fix a problem like this? How do we fix a problem like this? I can, from what I've seen here now, is what causes a problem like this is there is a space and Excel will not accept this. So what we need to do now is, let's go to our store and see our store. Okay, under our store, we don't have that under our store. So we don't have that under our store. We don't have a smart home under our store. Rather, what we have under our store is smart machine. So smart machine. Remember, we changed that from smart home to smart machine. So we can now have the list. The other one we have is art and craft. So when we select art and craft, remember we changed that art and craft. We have art and craft. And let's look at the category and see art and craft. So I think this also is supposed to work for us. Art and craft. Okay, let's see art and craft. Art and craft. Let me just copy this and see where the problem is coming from. I will come to art and craft here. We'll replace this with art and craft. Let's paste that. And then let's come over here now and see art and craft. And come over here, art and craft. Okay, I think something is wrong with this very one, which I will fix as we move on. So, but this is how dynamic lists work. So when we go to, let's say we go to this very one, and then we come over here, you can see the list is working out for us. So when we are working with dynamic list, when you fail to submit, when you fail to select the right pin here, this very one is not going to work. Category is not going to work because we are using a formula called what? The indirect formula. So just as we have done dynamically for this, we can do the same thing for product. We can do the same thing for product. Well, look at product. These are products we have under appliance. These are products we have under accessories. We have this under art. So we have a lot of products that we have. So all we need to do is to create the range name for our products. So what we are going to do here now to have this, remember what we used in the previous class. We use what? A method we use in the previous class, which is going to home, and then we went to find and select. Under find and select, we use what? Constant, which is this, so that we can highlight just constant. And from this now we want to create if we create now, this very one I can see here is not going to work because we have a space in between that. Okay, we don't have a space there. We have underscore. I think I have corrected that. So take note, the range name must not have two words. So let's repeat that. We went to home. Under home, we have find and select. Go to constant, and all the constants are selected for us. We want to create a range name. So we went back to this very formula bar. Under our formula bar, we went to create from selection. So when we click on create from selection, where do we have the name of our list? We have the name of our list, the range name from the top row. So click on OK, and that creates this for us. Let's check our name manager and see. We have our name manager. All of them have been created. So we can close that, and then we are now going to use the same thing we've done before. We are now going to use the same thing we've done before. So when we come to product here, product, we are now going to look at the category that we select from, that will determine the product we are going to see. So this is dynamically working out for us. So how do we do that? Click on highlight the area where you want to create your drop-down list. After doing that, go to your data menu. Under your data menu, you have data validation. Under data validation, we change that from any value to what? List. And then when we come to the source, remember what we use in the source. The source is something that we don't know exactly what the source is going to be. So that is why we are introducing an Excel function called indirect. So we say we are going to use indirect equal indirect open bracket. Excel should look at whatever the user enter in the column, in the cell to the left hand side of the record we are trying to enter. So Excel is now going to look at whatever we have in E2. So indirect E2 close bracket. When we press our enter key and click on OK, that does it for us. So we'll come over here now. Excel is now going to look at whatever the user select here, and based on that, is going to populate the product for us. So this case now, this guy selected phone, and when we come over here, all we are going to see is product from our smartphone product. Let's say this guy is trying to buy an Apple phone. Sorry, I'm not advertising for Apple. So now let's say we'll move over here, and this guy is buying from accessories, and we are picking this, and let's say this one, I have not created any product under here, so you will not see any product under here. The products we have created are these few products that I created. So I created a product for art, And let's see whether we can see anything like that. Okay, our art is not working for us, but let's see how we can fix this. Let's see how we can fix this. There is a range called art and craft, which we are supposed to have. Art and craft. So let's go to our range name and see. Let's go to our manage range name and see how we can fix this. Go to manage range name. We have a art and craft. Look at it here. This is where the challenge is coming from. Art and craft. The name we have there is art_craft. Art_craft. Let's look at it. Category. Category. So what we are supposed to have as that under that very range is supposed to be art and craft, not art_craft. So to fix that, let's go over there. This is the range we are talking about now. We can edit this. So when we edit this, we are replacing this range with the right name, which is art and craft. I'll click on OK. Okay, let's see. Art and craft. Do we have any other art and craft name here? Okay, I think we can be able to fix that. I think something went wrong with that very name, which I think we will fix in our subsequent class. So this is how we can create range name and a dynamic range name. Thank you. I believe you've been able to learn something from this very class. I don't want the class to be too lengthy. So what we have done now is, in the previous class, we created range name and we created drop down list. And in this class, we created dynamic drop down list. So what have we done here? Let's say I have a record here, and this record I want this record to 8, and here now I have location, and this location is this, and the name of this person. Let me use the last name at the bottom, and this is the name of this person, and this person is placing an order for our electronics. And the category, we are looking at category here. We select a category called phone, and when we come to product, we should only be able to see product from our phone category. So this is what we are talking about, working with dynamic drop-down list. Thank you. I believe you're going to learn something from this very class. If you have been able to learn anything from this very class, or you have a comment, please do me a favor. Drop your comment. For any subsequent topic you want us to use, drop your comment, and drop your comment on your observation in this very class. If this class was good, if you've learned something and you want us to continue coming up with content like this, drop your comment. I'll go through your comment and I will pick it up from there. Thank you very much. See you in our next class. Thank you.